I'm so horny I can't concentrate. Jesus Christ. Get over yourselves.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. You know I'm serious because I'm wearing my pearl-handled pistol cufflinks so graciously gifted to me by our former content genius that we all knew as Michael Rivers. God rest his soul. Today we are reacting to more news in day 6 of the Diddy trial. You know, here's the thing. This is federal court. It's serious business in federal court. The federal government wins. I don't know what their stats are there, but it's high. It's like 96% of their cases. They don't fuck around. When you've got the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, the CIA, the BLE, the BAPAD, the this and that, when you have all these different organizations and unlimited budgets at your fingertips, you damn well better win all your cases. Anyway, before we get to an update on Mr. Diddler, remember that our sponsor, which is askalawyer.com, which is really before anything that Diddy started, he should have went to askalawyer.com. Instead of paying millions of dollars for his defense, he could have just spent $49, asked the lawyer on staff, is this a good idea? And they'd say, no, thanks for the $49, and you saved yourself a big fucking headache, Diddler. But guess what? If you have an issue that whether it's a landlord-tenant issue, whether it's somebody messed with your car, or a criminal or civil, whatever kind of issue you might have, and you want to just, do I have a claim? Do I need a lawyer? Go to askalawyer.com. For $49, you get a real lawyer, and if you want to do your own research, they've got an AI component, trained on all the 50 states. Grandma's downstairs, typing her little fingers off, trying to see if she's got a claim against me, but she doesn't because I feed her internet service on a very ad hoc basis. Just kidding, that's not true, actually. It really is an effective way. So to find out if you've got, what's the next step here for me? And so go to askalawyer.com. Askalawyer.com, very effective way to find out, if you have a claim or if you want to do your own research. Go to askalawyer.com. Same people that brought you eForms and eSign. So we love them, so should you. Give them a little love. Okay. Now, I've seen a couple comments, or it's been brought to my attention, a couple comments are like, what is RICO? What does the government have to prove? What don't they have to prove? What's this sex trafficking business all about? What is the transportation of, for the purpose of process? Why is this a federal case? Why is there a RICO dude with only one defendant? Honestly, usually you see multiple defendants. I'm in trial right now on one. So let's just go with what is RICO. So RICO is the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, and it was originally brought around the time that the mafia was big in this country, and it was a tool that the government used to put everybody under one umbrella. And when you do that, it makes it kind of anything you do under that umbrella becomes a crime, basically. Not anything you do, but anything that's criminal and done in furtherance of the organization. Even if you didn't do the things that are being accused, like somebody else did them, but you're in agreement with them, it basically was to get the bosses. So the boss can be over here, but all of his minions are over here doing all kinds of stuff, but the boss is standing alone and said, I didn't do any of that. Well, you didn't, but they were doing it for you and kicking up to you. So let's just talk about exactly what the elements are. Number one, they have to prove that an enterprise existed. That isn't going to be hard at all. So number one, there's an enterprise. Number two, that the enterprise affected interstate commerce. Well, Diddy had 2 homes. He was doing business all over the world, so that's not going to be hard. Number 3, that the defendant was associated with or employed by it was his enterprise. So number 3, you've already got that done. And number 4, the defendant engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity. Now, we'll get to that in a second. And the last one is that the defendant conducted or participated in the conduct of the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity through the commission of at least 2 acts of racketeering activity as set forth in the indictment. So they have to prove at least 2 acts, that he acted in a way that was at least 2 acts of racketeering activity committed within 10 years of each other. The government must show that the racketeering predicates are related and that they amount to or pose a threat to continued criminal activity. So when we look at the indictment, one of the first things they talk about is the enterprise. From at least 2008 through about the date of the filing, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others, known or unknown, were members of the associated criminal organization and basically forced labor, interstate transportation for the purpose of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So if he's conducting his affairs all over the country, bringing in drugs, bringing in prostitution, preventing people from leaving, hurting people, doing all, bringing sex workers in, preventing people from leaving, one of the accusations is that he would keep people there for days after being abused for days to let them heal so that when they left, they didn't have any scarring, that kind of thing. And that's kidnapping. It's just stone cold kidnapping. So then they talk about, so they got the enterprise and then the purpose of the enterprise. Operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, recording studio, an apparel line, alcoholic spirit business, marketing agency, and a television network and media company. There's no question that they've got an enterprise, that they have a purpose of the enterprise, and then the method and means of the enterprise. So I know this is kind of a little bit drawn out here, but it's very esoteric and kind of complicated, so I want you to understand exactly what we're talking about. So then Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded power and prestige over Combs' role at the business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit. So one of the things, so you've got the actual physical side of things, and then you have the coercion side of things. So he was a media mogul. I mean, he just was. He had power, influence. And, like one of the things that, Cassie testified about was she felt she was powerless. And he held all the cards. He controlled her every move. He controlled her financially. He controlled her physically. He controlled her career. He controlled her at all different levels until she finally had enough and left. Now, if I'm his lawyer, I try to say that the businesses were legitimate businesses and anything he did was not in furtherance of the enterprise's common goals or plan. That the freak-offs were nothing but consensual. They were freak-offs. We were all freaks. I mean, we were all getting our... everybody wanted to do that, man. Hey, everybody wanted to be at a Diddy party because there's no party like a Diddy party, right? Give me a break. Oh, I bet it stinks in a Diddy party. Oh, anyway, just gross. Honestly, I'm man on top, get it over with quick. I can't imagine days and days of being penetrated by, Mr. fucking Atlas. I mean, who wants to do that? Well, maybe Robert does, but... Robert's one of our editors here. He's a good guy. Anyway, but what I'm trying to tell you is that you have this overarching enterprise, and then you have the common purpose of the enterprise, right? That's how the indictment's laid out. And here's why the other thing that bothers me about this whole indictment, I can't believe there aren't more people being charged because he didn't do this by himself. The only way people get out of being charged is by becoming witnesses. And then you got bought and paid for testimony. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs, among other things, booking hotel. I mean, all this stuff, you're acting in furtherance of the conspiracy, right? But he's the only one charged. Combs subjected his victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak offs. In other words, they weren't consensual. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. You know, if somebody can have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, but it cannot be part of the agreement that you don't go to the cops. That's illegal. That can never be a term of the. So let's talk about the conspiracy. From at least 2008 through on or about the filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs, the defendant, and others, known and unknown, blah, 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 to conduct indirectly and directly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. So, and really it's multiple acts involving kidnapping, multiple acts involving arson, he's burning people, multiple acts involving bribery, multiple acts of witness tampering or intimidation. I think one of the witnesses testified that she was told that witnesses can disappear. Sex trafficking, transportation to induce travel for prostitution, and multiple offenses, the possession with intent to distribute drugs. So you've got all these different, so it's not just about sex trafficking, and people kind of lose sight of that. This is about drugs. This is about intimidation. It's about witness tampering. It's about arson, setting something on fire. I don't even remember what that's all about yet. But it's about all these different things added up to one, and that's why he's charged with racketeering. Because if you charge racketeering, it's a big umbrella, and the guidelines are incredibly high. There's a special sentencing enhancement that they talk about on paragraph 15 of the indictment. Notice of special sentencing factor, and that relates to sex trafficking. So then you got count 2, sex trafficking. What is sex trafficking? That's where here I'll tell you what the actual elements of sex trafficking are. I know this is kind of tedious, and we'll get into some of the substance of what's happened so far, but I think it's instructive because it gets you to better understand where the government's coming from. So sex trafficking. First, the defendant knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, or solicited a person for sex. Second, the defendant knew or was in reckless disregard of the fact that force, threats of force, fraud, coercion, or any combination would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act. And third, the defendant's acts were interstate commerce. I don't know if he charged for these freak offs or not, but when you hire a prostitute and make that guy have sex with your wife or your girlfriend, and she's kind of an unwilling participant, and you make her do this, and other people are watching for their enjoyment, for days, which is, I think, what the allegation basically is, then you have, and if you don't do it, I'm going to ruin you. That's force, fraud, or coercion. That's coercion, basically. So then we have transportation to engage in prostitution. This one's the easiest one out of all of these. First, the defendant knowingly attempted to transport a person in interstate foreign commerce. Basically, I'm giving you an airline ticket to fly here, or I ask you to come here. Second, the defendant attempted to transport a person with the intent that such person engage in prostitution. I hire Mr. Atlas. I'm just going to call him Mr. Atlas, all oiled up, because he's got 100 bottles of olive oil or body oil, baby oil, joy jelly, whatever you want to call it, on his way. So he's coming to do this. Third, that if the sexual activity had occurred, which we know it did, based upon the sexual activity that occurred, the defendant could have been charged with criminal offense under the laws of the United States. In other words, if it's just regular prostitution. So, third and fourth, the defendant did something that was a substantial step towards committing the crime and that strongly corroborated the defendant's intent to commit the crime. Mere preparation is not a substantial step towards committing the crime. To constitute a substantial step, a defendant's act or actions must unequivocally demonstrate the crime will take place unless interrupted by independent circumstances. The jurors do not need to agree unanimously as to which particular act or actions constitute a substantial step. So those are the charges that he's facing, okay? Now, how would I handle this? I don't know there's much of a defense to the transporting across state lines to engage in prostitution. I mean, you'd have to have the prostitute come in and say, I was just doing this to have fun with Diddy. I didn't get paid, but he got paid. And I think they have records that they got paid. And Diddy probably tried to deduct it from his taxes, I would bet. So Cassie took the stand for several days of testimony at Diddy's trial, and they read in dozens and dozens of text messages. They also had some recordings that Diddy didn't know she had. And here's the other thing. In federal court, you don't have to give your testimony or your discovery until like 3 days before the trial or before the appearance of the witness. So it is trial by ambush. There's no question about that. The highly prejudicial publicity in the letter that the judge received a letter from Diddy's lawyers. And when did this went out? Well, that was October 20th. What the fuck? Why is that? So they're reading some of these text messages. And here's the thing. You've got messages from Cassie saying, that she's always ready to freak off. In other words, you've got, and that I would pound on that. I would absolutely take that to Pound Town, for lack of a better word. When do you want to freak off? Am I supposed to come back to you? So this is, I think, from Diddy. LOL, I'm going up to change and put my ring in. You know what kind of ring that is, I think. I just picked it up. I'm always ready to freak off. And then from Puffy, that was from Puffy. It says, when? Do you want to freak off? And that's from BG New Pin. I think that's from Cassie. Me too. I miss you already. Me too. I just want it to be uncontrollable. I can't wait to watch you. I want you to get real hot. I can't wait to stare at some big black dick. These are powerful statements. And I can't wait either. I can't wait. That's why I want to see. I'm thinking about licking those dicks. From the blanks to the blank. Then slowly lowering my mouth to let it hit the back of my throat. These are from Cassie, ostensibly. You listen to these, and they don't sound like she's looking for help, right? LOL, sorry, I'm nervous. I feel like I want to fuck. How you feeling? Talk to me. Oh my God, I just about to text you the same thing. They've got a lot of text messages from her. And they're going to have to show that she was doing this, but not really in the back of her mind, she doesn't want to do this. They had somebody come in and testify that she saw Cassie being hit, and I think it had to do with a pan. She had a pan thrown at her or something. And this is not on camera. This is from 2009, okay? I'm so horny I can't concentrate. Jesus Christ. Get over yourselves. So what do you want to do? I'm going to Dwayne Reed to grab candles, and then I'm going home to pack us a bag. You want any red clothes, by the way, or just sweats? Then I go check in and set the room up. I'll eat, take my vitamins, LOL, and get ready before I leave the house. I just want to know what you're thinking. And the next one says, I just deleted our little video to this off of my camera. It was so dope. And basically with these text messages, they're damning to the prosecution because they tend to show a willing participant. And I would hammer those home if I was the jury. The problem is that you have more than just the sex part. you have the drugs. And there's no question that there's a lot of drugs here. And that's part of the racketeering. So you've got the drugs, you've got witness intimidation, so let's just say she was consensual and all this stuff. Well, that just takes away one of the types of overt acts that they're talking about. Let's read a couple more of these. This is from BG New Pin. New Pin. Who is that? That's got to be Cassie. The thing I want to do for you and to you, I want to be nasty for you. I want to do what you want to make me come more than you've ever came. This is in 2009, mind you, right? So this is at the beginning of the relationship. This is at the beginning of the relationship where she's probably doing everything she can to please her man. I like that. I want it. And I want to give it to you the same. I just think that I have to just being sexual. Do you know what I mean? In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home. Like this is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever, that I'll ever have, this aggressive sexual side of me. But do you hear she says in there she wants to feel safe? This could have started out consensual. It could have started out that way. But as time went on, it gets worse and worse and worse. So when you look at the overarching nature of this whole indictment, it isn't just the sex. It isn't just the sex trafficking. How are you going to combat the fact that people are going to talk about drugs and all kinds of drugs, whether it's cocaine, whether it's ecstasy, whether it's whatever? He's bringing that shit in. And he's bringing it in from outside the state of wherever he's in, right? So you hung up. It's like I need to have something written out to say to you with no breathing room, or you'll get mad and hang up on me. I haven't talked to you at all. I know that you can take 3 minutes out of your day to talk to me and you don't even try. You're in too much of a rush to get me off the phone. That's not being in a relationship with somebody that you love and are in love with. I am really hurt by the way you deal with me. I don't need your money. I need some attention. I am thankful, but I can pay for these things myself. So during a sidebar, a sidebar is when you hear the term sidebar. That's when we go up to the court and we're talking kind of hush hush, and then the court puts on this noise so the jury can't hear what we're talking about. And the reason we do that is because usually there's an objection, and when you have an objection, usually it's one word. Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Objection, foundation. Objection, speculation. Objection, whatever, prejudicial. And then if you need more of an explanation as to what your objection is and you want to argue your objection, Your Honor, may we approach? And then you go up to the bench. So and then you talk to the judge. So during a sidebar in the Diddy Combs trial, sex trafficking, the court addressed objections to the prosecution's repetitive questioning about baby oil used in the alleged freak-off events. With Judge Subramanian, I think that's how you pronounce his name, suggesting that U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson condense her 20 questions on the topic of baby oil to avoid further objections. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, made a lighthearted remark about avoiding a slippery slope, prompting varied reactions on X, ranging from a criticism of the joke's timing to acknowledgement of the defense strategic humor. The other thing you do in a case like this is you want jurors who aren't prudes, and sometimes the more they hear, the more desensitized they get to this stuff. So here is that, Miss Johnson, maybe you can help us with with where you're going right now. I think the objection is grounded in a lack of relevance and also cumulative nature of the questioning. Am I right of that? That's right. Maybe if I can give you some guidance as to where we're going next, that will be helpful. Mrs. Johnson of Johnson & Johnson Baby Oil says, yes, Your Honor, we are going to go through the various supplies that were used because those are supplies that were demanded by the defendant. that were at every freak-off that were consistent, which showed a pattern, which showed how he controlled the events that happened at these freak-offs. I will not ask any more oil questions. I have one question on lubricant, but I'm going to march through a different supplies list that were present. And the court says, that's fine. I understood the objection to mainly be on the cumulative nature of this. If they're saying it's the same thing over and over and over again, that's cumulative. I think we had about 20 questions on baby oil, on the baby oil issues, and I think we can condense that a little bit. You'll avoid the objection. Is that fair? That's fair. Mr. Ignifilo, I was going to say slippery slope, but I'm not going to say it. Oh, you're so cute, Mr. Ignifilo. Not. So the other thing, Cassie testified that she got $20 million. So what at this point? What's her motivation now? She got her money. She doesn't need a conviction for her to get paid. I think she's already been paid. They paid her the day after she fucking filed it in court. And why did he do that? Well, because he thought he was going to lose. And then she also is expecting some kind of settlement from the Intercontinental Hotel. So I guess maybe that could be another motivating factor for her to lie about her testimony. I haven't received a settlement from the Intercontinental. Did you make a demand from the Intercontinental? I did. Did you receive anything in response to that demand? No, I haven't. Do you anticipate receiving some kind of settlement in that case? I do. How much do you expect to receive? I don't know the exact number. Can you provide an estimate? I think it would be about $10 million maybe. And have you reached the end of the settlement discussions with the Intercontinental? I have. So you expect to receive $10 million from Intercontinental? Yeah. She was a little cagey there with her testimony. In other words, you knew exactly how much you're getting because you already fucking settled your lawsuit. But you're not being candid with this court or with this jury. And why aren't you being candid? You're not being candid because you're being coy. Now you're shading this. Are you shading everything else? You say in these text messages, do you not, Miss Ventura, that you're looking forward to the freak-offs, that you want to please Mr. Combs. That can all be well and true. And he says, yeah, I thought that at the time. But guess what? He started beating the shit out of me every day after that. And I just had to do whatever I could to not piss him off. That's really where this is kind of going, I think. But like I said, it isn't just the sex. I mean, that's what we think it is, right? But it's more of an But it's more of an overarching indictment on the criminal nature of the enterprise that Diddy was running. Sex was just one part of it. Drugs was another. Intimidation was another. Threatening witnesses is another. So you add all these things up, and guess what you have? RICO. Suave. Not really, but... And I know the first week has just been all this salacious bullshit about how he did everything under the sun to Cassie Ventura. She's got no motivation to lie at this point. I found her testimony to be really credible, especially when you said, do you hate him? No, I don't hate him. I love him. But he did some rotten things to me. I didn't want to come here and do this. I didn't want to have a freak off here in the courtroom, which is an illegal freak off essentially. But guess what? When the person that you love treats you like shit, and you kind of hope it comes around, and that's really what we had, I think, with Cassie. I mean, now she's married with 2 kids. That's where she wants to be. She didn't want to be in the freak-offs. Maybe initially when she's in her early 30s, late 20s, or whatever, or how old was she when she started dating him? She was young. But now, I mean, all I'm telling you guys is this. This ain't just about the sex. Seems like it is, but it's not. Dawn Smith testified, and basically that she witnessed, she's the one I was talking about earlier, that's in 2009, said she witnessed him beating her. I believe Cassie was like in her early 20s or 19 or something like that when she started with Diddy. I mean, and why is that important? It's important to corroborate your witnesses. I mean, this is what she says. I was shocked, but also scared. Richard told the jurors Monday, saying she feared she and her bandmates could die if they spoke up. That's the intimidation part of this. And when she was cross-examined, the defense pointed out many inconsistencies in what Richard had admitted to, giving different versions of the events and not mentioning certain details during the interviews. The apparent discrepancies included her saying that she saw Combs throw a pan at Ventura in 2009 versus only hearing it, not mentioning Combs' alleged threats during the interviews with prosecutors, and telling jurors that she saw Combs do drugs despite previously telling prosecutors she hadn't. Now, here's the thing. So you point out all those things, but there can be an innocent explanation for the inconsistencies. And what is that? I was afraid of him. I saw what he did to Cassie. Number one, I thought he would do it to me. Number two, he told me that witnesses can disappear. Number three, he was worth $1 billion and was respected among all different forms of media. And I thought that if I spoke out against him, I was done for. Maybe physically, maybe my life would be in jeopardy, or my career. Either way, it wasn't going to end well for me. Can we agree that your testimony has changed on quite a few things? Defense lawyer Nicole Westmoreland asked. I think as time progresses, I get better at knowing what went on because it was quite a long time ago. So she's 38, and she said over 4 days of testimony last week that Combs coerced and blackmailed her in days of drug-fueled sex parties called freak-offs. This is just unbelievable, honestly. I saw him hit her, pull her, kick her, push her. Kerry Morgan testified how Diddy would punch, choke, drag, slap her in the mouth, and how he choked Morgan once too and beat her with a wooden hanger. Fucking A, why would you do this shit? Now check this out. As part of the treasure trove of evidence, photos made public by the Department of Justice on Monday is a picture of a large chef's knife in the door handle, which Diddy Combs' then longtime girlfriend Cassie Ventura said she used to protect herself from him. I mean, tell me that what she did was consensual. She said she had to lock herself in the apartment at the end of their relationship in 2018 and use the knife as an added means of defense. I was getting a lot of unannounced visits from Sean, and I was trying to kill two birds with one stone. Lock it, and I had a weapon. Unbelievable. There's also pictures of drugs, baby oil, stacks of cash found in Diddy's New York City hotel. A slew of photos taken by law enforcement after they raided Diddy Combs' room at the Park Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan were made public Monday and included images of bottles of baby oil. You can't leave home without it. Personal lubricant and bags of, what's his fucking deal with baby oil? I mean, maybe it's fun for a day or two, but fucking A, as a lifestyle. These items, and rumor has it that Johnson & Johnson stock went down significantly since he's been incarcerated because they don't give him his baby oil. The items were found in the bed. Let's see, what else? So they got the baby oil, you got drugs, you got cash, you got baby oil, baby oil, baby oil. Fucking look at this. God, you talk about having an addiction. A shit ton of cash, bunch of drugs. Is there any wonder that he wasn't released during his bail hearing? Look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bottles of baby oil. Oh, and here's some more lube. Fucking lube. New shocking photos show Cassie Ventura's gruesome injuries at the hands of her longtime boyfriend, Sean Diddy, were released to the public. He probably didn't realize she was taking pictures. Fat lip, bruises on the back, bruises on her leg. Holy fuck, look at this cut on her eye. That ain't consensual. So, I mean, one of the things that he would do is bring doctors in or whatever and rehydrate them and keep them in, away from the public until they healed. A couple more little tidbits. So Diddy had a former assistant named David James. He took the stand for testimony and named as a prosecution witness. He became emotional within moments of taking the stand as he recalled being interviewed by Vashta Wilson, the human resources for Bad Boy Worldwide Entertainment Group, to be Combs' assistant. I remember sitting at her desk, and there was a picture of Mr. Combs on the wall, James said. She pointed at the wall. She said, "This is Mr. Combs' kingdom. We're all here to serve it." Here's what I think about Combs' world. I think he thought he was Caligula. Look up Caligula. Did whatever he wanted when he ever went. And how did he die? I think he died of syphilis or something like that.
No treachery could equal his evil. No evil was more treacherous. He's mad! Caligula.
So Kerry Morgan, one of the things that Kerry Morgan talked about was why she wasn't friends with Cassie anymore. Kerry Morgan explained that the reason that she and Cassie Ventura ended their 17-year friendship is partly because the singer never reached out to her again after Diddy's assault. Morgan said after Combs choked her and chucked a wooden hanger at her, Ventura didn't take it serious enough and never called her again. I draw my line at physical abuse. I don't know why she doesn't reach out to me. I'm sure she doesn't have the same phone number anymore. And here's the other thing. Apparently, there was this thing about Kid Cudi, and Diddy is insanely jealous of him and other people and would take revenge against people. There's rumors that he blew up Kid Cudi's car. Not sure if that really happened. But this all fits a pattern of illegal activity that is under the umbrella of the enterprise. So like I said, it isn't just about the sex or the freak-offs. That's a part of it. But it's much more widespread than that. And it goes into detail about drugs, witness intimidation, prostitution, things, illegal activity affecting interstate commerce. That's basically what it is. And it's just across state lines. That's all that means. So the question was asked, at what point, if your goose is cooked, do you really start worrying more about sentencing and mitigating factors as opposed to guilt or innocence? I think the evidence is going to be absolutely overwhelming for Diddy, and he'll likely get convicted. But when we talk about sentencing mitigation, that happens when you take responsibility for something, right? And we don't have that here. He has a trial. And so any downward departure you might get, you'd get with acceptance of responsibility, and we just don't have that here. Do you remember that video that he shot? I guarantee you that should be part of this trial. I think he really didn't think he was going to get charged. But if you look at this case and you look at the R. Kelly case, they're really kind of similar. This is at a different level than R. Kelly by leaps and bounds. But he's acting like a thug. Not even a good thug. So I guess the point is that when you take a look at this whole case, he's going to have what they call a trial tax. He went to trial. He won't get the benefit of acceptance of responsibility. And when you don't have that, you're starting out in a deep, deep, deep hole. Now, will there be aggravating factors worthy an upward departure? You're damn right there will be. But the guidelines are so high to begin with, I don't think it's going to matter. I hope this helps you get a better understanding of what the government has to prove in this case and how they're going to prove it. If you get the indictment, it's all in the indictment. And it's salacious. And it's just awful. So I remember when this first came out, I kept thinking to myself, gee, what are they going to try to prove? If this is just a prostitution case, they don't have it. But it's so much more than that. And they put it under the umbrella of RICO because it's much easier to prove. Honestly. They only need to prove 2 acts, and they've got fucking dozens and dozens. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. If you're a Patreon paid member, you get a free hat. And also go to clrbrucerivers.com for all your merch needs, because we have the hats, we got the hoodies, we got all kinds of art that Michael has done. And we'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer React.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is at my God.